Welcome back, deep divers. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. Usually we tackle these big, complex topics, but today we're diving into something much simpler. A children's story, actually. It's a transcript from a YouTube video that's designed for people learning English. But believe me, there are some fascinating things here that are worth exploring.
Yeah, I was really intrigued by how this story, it seems really simple on the surface, but it uses these subtle little choices of language to bring out powerful emotions and teach these lessons about friendship and kindness. It's a masterclass in communication, really.
So let's set the scene.
Yeah.
Okay? The story takes place in this peaceful village, and we're introduced to Tom, a kind farmer, and we find him in his garden. Right off the bat, the very first words used to describe the setting are peaceful and quiet. What do you think about that? Right away, why start with those words?
Well, I think it just creates this instant sense of tranquility, like we're entering this calm oasis, and that makes the arrival of something unexpected even more impactful.
Yeah, you're right. Because suddenly Tom sees something small and white hiding under a tree, a tiny little rabbit, all alone and scared. Those simple words, small and white, instantly make you feel how vulnerable it is.
Exactly. And that vulnerability is what makes Tom feel compassion right away. He gently coaxes the rabbit out, he reassures it, and decides to take care of it. There's no hesitation at all.
Yeah, he even names the rabbit Snowball, which just makes you think of purity and innocence. It's like Tom sees a kindred spirit in this little rabbit. But not everyone is as excited about this as Tom is right.
Yeah, and that's where the story starts to touch on the theme of societal norms. The villagers are surprised by Tom's choice of pet. They might even think it's a little strange, but it doesn't bother Tom at all. He's happy with Snowball, and that challenges how everyone else thinks a companion should be.
It reminds us that we can find real connection in the most unexpected places. And this bond between Tom and Snowball, it's really put to the test when a huge storm hits the village. The story uses some really vivid descriptions here. Dark clouds, howling wind, pouring rain. He creates this feeling of drama and urgency.
And that change in the tone really increases the impact of the story. We feel how desperate Tom is as he searches for Snowball. You can feel the fear in every word, and the way the author uses the past simple tense. He ran, he called, he searched. It just pulls you along and makes it feel so immediate.
Yeah, it's like we're right there with him. Our hearts are pounding as he's out in the storm just worried about Snowball. And after what feels like forever, he finds him soaked and trembling, but safe.
Ugh, that feeling of relief is so powerful. It doesn't actually say it, but you can feel it. When it describes Tom wrapping Snowball in a warm towel and giving him food. Such small actions, but they say so much about how deep their connection is.
Absolutely. And after that, Tom builds Snowball a little house, this safe haven that shows just how much he cares about this unusual friendship. And it's interesting how this act of love, it doesn't just affect Snowball, it impacts the whole village.
It's like a ripple effect. Tom's kindness towards Snowball makes the villagers soften up a bit. They start to see him and how they could connect with others differently.
We see this when a village boy, hesitant, at first walks up to Tom and asks if he can play with Snowball.
Mm.
And Tom, with his big heart, says yes.
It's small, but it's a turning point. The villagers who were so unsure before, they start to come around to this friendship. They see the beauty in how compassionate Tom is, and it sparks something in them.
It's amazing how much we've already found in just the first part of this story. We've seen how simple words can make you feel such complex emotions, and how real connection can challenge what society expects, and how one act of kindness can have a huge impact on everyone. And we're just getting started.
It's amazing how this story, it's for people learning English, but it still manages to have these really deep themes, and it's never like preachy or too sentimental. It's all about how they use the language.
That's so true. And one thing I noticed was how the story just naturally teaches vocabulary and grammar as you're reading it. It doesn't feel forced at all.
Exactly. Like when Tom finds Snowball after that storm, it uses words like soaked and trembling to describe him. Those aren't words you'd usually find in the textbook, but here they are in the story.
Yep. Yeah, and that makes them stick with you. It's not about just memorizing words. It's about feeling them, understanding what they mean.
Right. And what's interesting is how they use totally opposite words to show how the mood changes. Like we go from howling wind and pouring rain to warm towel and gentle strokes as Tom takes care of Snowball.
Yeah, it's subtle, but it works.
Hmm.
It's like teaching you about synonyms and antonyms, but
Yeah.
it also makes you feel the relief along with Tom and Snowball.
For sure. And then there's how they use direct, indirect speech. Like when Tom's talking to Snowball, we hear him say, "Don't worry, little one, I'm here now." It feels so real and in the moment.
Yeah, it's like we're listening in on them, experiencing their connection right there with them.
Exactly. But then when it talks about the villagers, it uses indirect speech. Like, the villagers whispered amongst themselves, wondering why Tom had chosen a rabbit as a pet. And that change, it not only shows you different grammar, but it also kind of hints at how skeptical they are at first.
It's teaching us about language, but also about how people work, how they react to things that are different.
Exactly. And then there's that beautiful part where Tom talks about what it means to be friends with the Snowball. He says, "A true friend is a gift. It doesn't matter if he's big or small, human or animal. What matters is kindness and love."
That line always gets to me. So simple, but so powerful.
What's interesting there is the tense change. The whole story's been in past tense, describing everything in order. But when Tom talks about friendship, it switches to present tense.
You're right. I didn't even realize that. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because the story is trying to tell us something true, something that goes beyond just this one story. It's saying that real friendship, the kind built on kindness and love, that's something that's always true, no matter what.
So by using present tense, it takes Tom's words and makes them about more than just him and Snowball. It's about friendship itself.
Yeah, exactly. It's subtle, but it's powerful. And it just shows how much thought went into making the story that seems so simple.
It also really cleverly reinforces different tenses for people learning English. But it's bigger than just grammar. It's about using language to say something deep, to touch on things that everyone understands, no matter what language they speak.
You're right. This story, it's not just about teaching English. It's about using language to connect with people, to share what we go through, to understand each other. And that's what makes it so powerful.
It makes you realize that even the simplest stories can have these deep truths in them if we're willing to look for them. You know, as we've been talking about Tom and Snowball, I can't help but think about how much this story is like what we do here on the Deep Dive.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. We start with something that seems pretty basic, like a simple idea or a piece of information. But as we really dig into it, we find all these hidden layers and connections we didn't expect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This story, it seems so simple, but it's shown us so much about how powerful language can be, the beauty of connecting with someone, and how important it is to look deeper than just what you see on the surface.
And it's made us think about our own ideas about things. Like the villagers who didn't get why Tom was friends with Snowball. We can get so caught up in our own ideas about how things should be.
That's so true. We could miss out on so many amazing connections if we only stick with people who fit into our little boxes. This story reminds us to be open to friendships that we didn't expect, to see the good in people who might be different from us.
And to realize that kindness and compassion can bring anyone together. Tom was so kind and caring towards Snowball, and it changed their relationship, but it also changed the whole village.
It's a perfect example of how one person's actions can make a difference and create a community where everyone feels welcome, which makes me wonder, what kind of impact are we having on the people around us?
That's what's so great about a story like this. It stays with you even after you're done reading it. It makes you think about your own life, your own relationships, and how you can be kinder and more compassionate to others.
So as we finish up this deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about. Who's the Tom in your life? You know someone who's been unexpectedly kind to you, someone who's challenged your way of thinking, someone who's shown you what friendship can really be.
And who's the Snowball in your life? Someone who maybe seems different or doesn't fit in with everyone else, but who you could really connect with if you tried.
Reach out to them. Be
Amen.
open to something new. You might be surprised by how deep that connection can become.
And remember, just like Tom's kindness spread through the whole village, even the small things you do can make a positive difference in your world.
That's a great thought to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into such a heartwarming story. It reminds us that friendship and kindness, even in the simplest forms, are incredibly powerful. Until next time, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep diving deep.